Hi, it's Alistair McIntyre to Electric Scotland. This is my introduction to a weekly newsletter for June 16th, 2017. So without further ado, I will add in general terms that there's been a whole ton of news stories this past week on the results of the general election, as you might expect. I haven't actually bothered you too much about it in the weekly newsletter, but again, if you go to the Scott News feed on the index page of electricscotland.com, you'll read tons of stories there about it. So without further ado, stories I have for you this week are, the first one is Bridie Banger surges to victory in Forfar sausage poll. Essentially, I just thought it was kind of interesting because I hadn't actually heard of a Bridie Banger. I know what Bridies are, like Forfar Bridies, but I wasn't aware there was a particular sausage version of it. So it's also got a little video where the announcement is. So I thought maybe you might enjoy that wee story. The next one is So Long Alex Salmond. You had a very good innings, but your era is over. So this is a wee article from the Daily Record. The next one was Brit scientists could be about to cure multiple sclerosis. Dr. Sue Metcalf and her team at Lip Nano believe they have found the cure for the devastating condition multiple sclerosis. The reason I'm putting this up is that Scotland and Canada are two countries that have a huge problem with multiple sclerosis. So I thought this would be great news for both Scotland and Canada. So if you suffer from this illness or know someone that does, certainly have a read because it's very encouraging. The next story is Glasgow murals leave Billy Connolly flabbergasted. The tribute portraits have been created in his native city of Glasgow to mark the Big Yin's 71st birthday. And you'll see pictures of the murals in the article. This one is General Election 2017, the Scottish constituencies. A quick search of the figures and some throwaway observations. So I thought you might find that of interest. White bread. Why it's okay to eat it again. Well, you know, as often happens, I happen to prefer white bread to any other bread. So I just thought, oh, that's good because it wasn't meant to be good for you. And when I have eaten some wheaten bread and stuff like that, I really prefer white. So I just thought that was a great wee article. Next one is It's All She's Got, the political future of Nicola Sturgeon. So again, I just thought that was kind of interesting. The other one I've got is AECO's 20 years since community buyout. It's the 20 years eggs population has grown from 64 to more than 100 residents for the first time in its recent history. So I remember the talk of when they've actually bought the community out, and I was really quite fascinated about that. So this obviously follows up from there, and I think it makes a good read, an interesting one as well. I've also got a profile. It's the Scottish Conservative leader Ruth Davidson, because obviously she was a bit of a star on the Scottish elections there, so I thought it'd be good for you to learn a bit about her. Then I've got SNP accused of systematic avoidance of scrutiny. Only one SNP MSP contributes to debate calling for inquiry into freedom of information practice. The reason that's there is that I've been very critical for quite some time about the SNP hiding figures and not giving proper reports on what's going on. So I was particularly interested in that article, so hopefully you might be as well. Then I've got Highland Games season underway. Where can you see them? So it's a wee discussion about the Highland Games, but also telling you the ones in Scotland that are on when. So if you're going for a holiday in Scotland or in Scotland, that article will tell you where they are and when they're on. Then I've got Grenfell Tower fire, Scottish councils to review fire safety. I included this simply because obviously that Grenfell Tower was a terrible, terrible tower. Maybe you saw it on the news. but certainly was concerning because these multi-story flats, I mean, should be reasonably safe, because they actually say if there's a fire, stay inside, because the way they're designed, they should be safe, but that was not the case with this Grenfell Tower. So I thought you might be interested in reading about that, because a lot of us live in multi-story tenement flats and skyscrapers and stuff like that, so I thought you might be interested in that one. Then I have the Scottish Police Authority, A Turbulent Beginning. Well, essentially the current chair of the Scottish Police Authority has now resigned, but this is a bit of a documentary story about how it was set up and how it's fared since its start. Then I've got the Scot who founded the Buick Motor Company. The iconic luxury of Buick Motors have a distinction of being the oldest American brand of automobiles, but Scotland has the honour at being home to its founder. So I just thought that hopefully might interest you. And these are the news stories I chose for this week. Now on to Electric Canadian, I've got a book about the Bruce Beacons. It's the story of Lake Huron's Great Peninsula by William Sherwood Fox. It's printed in 1952. And I've added that to the foot of our page on the County of Bruce, which you can read obviously on the site from the link there. Then I've got the history of the County of Welland in Ontario. Again, I've got a little bit of information about Welland as it happens from another book. So I went to the page that features Welland and I put a link to the book from that Welland page. So I hope you'll enjoy reading that. Then of course we've got two articles from Conrad Black this week. One is a better week for the Canadian government than their American or British analogues. And the other one is Trump wins another battle, but the war of attrition continues. Now for Electric Scotland, I've added the 1909 edition of the Forfar Directory and Yearbook, again with some wee stories from it. The next one I got is the Miscellany of the Maitland Club. As you know, last week I put up Volume 1. Well, this week I put up Volume 2 along with a scan of the contents page. And hopefully next week I'll get Volume 3, the final Volume 3 out. Then I've got a little article, it's a 3-pager on recreational reading and the reluctant reader. The primary aim of this project was to stimulate interest in reading for pleasure. So you'll be able to read that kind of short paper. Then I found the People's Yearbook, and it's for 1918. Basically, it's an annual of useful information prepared by the Cooperative Press Agency. This is its first year of publication. We're adding several issues to the foot of our page on our history of the Barrhead Cooperative Society. Basically, some of you will probably remember the co-ops in Scotland. You got a divvy book. Usually the women got the book because they were the ones that did all the grocery shopping, and when you went to the till and paid over, you handed your divvy book over and they would mark the amount you spent in it. And of course that meant it earned you a little bit of money. Anything else you bought from the co-op, like furniture or services like painting or travel or even a funeral and stuff like that, all in the divvy book. So the woman of the household would actually get some money from that divvy book. And considering that at the time there was a lot of men that they would dish out the money to the wife to buy the groceries, and quite often they didn't give her enough money. So this little divvy book could be actually very handy indeed. So because the co-op was certainly in my day growing up, I remember around the corner from the house there was 3 stores. One was a grocery store where if you bought butter it was actually cut off a huge block and then wrapped in greaseproof paper. And if you wanted sugar, was always poured from a big canister and weighed out. And of course it was a counter store, so you went to the counter and they would collect the stuff for you, so there was no self-service. Then next door to that grocery store was a veg store where you could buy your vegetables and potatoes and fruit and stuff like that. And then next to that was the co-op butcher, where you could get your butcher meat and stuff. Then downtown in the town centre, they had a big superstore there where they sold furniture and everything. But you could also buy services like painting. Because we used Peter the Painter, we called him, there to do paint work at the house. But they also had their own travel agency and funeral homes and stuff like that. So the club was pretty important back in those days. So this is their first yearbook, which I thought you just might find interesting. It was a bit of an international movement, this co-op one. So, so they are talking about the internationals in this one. Then the next one we've got is Best Newfangled Family Tree. It's section 2 of the July 2017 edition. As always, there's a lot of great information in the family tree. This particular issue has a story about Romilly Squire, who was a heraldic artist, and he died in December last year. But this is a tribute to him, which I found very interesting. Then the final book I put up this particular week was the Albany Burns Club in America. It was produced by David M. Kinnear in 1919. I thought it was a really great wee book. I'd have to say that as I was reading through it, they told you what the menu was or what the dinner was. And quite frankly, the amount of food they put on was just ginormous. And the commentary about there was so many toasts that I reckon a lot of them must have been a bit tottery when they left the club, you know. But it says that they had a fantastic time, and it's about a 54-page book, so I enjoyed reading it, certainly. So I've made it available from our Burns section. Again, the link to the book is on the newsletter. Then the story this week, I keep getting asked what a hard as opposed to a soft Brexit means. And so I found an article that kind of explains the background to it, and certainly it references the election we've just had. But I think it clarifies a few things. So that's the story, but at the end of the story, I've given you 5 links to specific articles about the customs union, because they often say a soft Brexit means we'll still stay in the customs union. I'll be honest with you, that seems totally against any common sense I can do, because if we stay in the customs union, we won't be able to do deals with countries outside the EU. It just makes, to me, no sense whatsoever. But someone obviously says that they think we should be in the customs union. What I'd love is for someone to send me a copy of an article or something that they've written themselves explaining why we're better in the customs union. So I'd be happy to put a counter argument to that if anyone will provide the information. But anyway, that's me doing my bit to try and explain what the customs union is and the repercussions it can have if we don't come out of it as we come out of the EU. So that's basically it. I hope you enjoy the newsletter, and as always, under this video there is, on YouTube anyway, I'll put a link to this week's newsletter so you can download it and get the links for all these books and stories. Okay, thank you for listening, and as always, please feel free to leave any comments. Thank you.